Oh, it's almost hilarious. Okay, we're here. Wild Woman Rhapsody. This is my third attempt of going live to bring you this message that I was just speaking with my two dear brothers who live with me on the mountain right now, Tom Vishal, and I were having an amazing conversation this morning about evil. So I want to remind all of you that every time I go live, every time that I open my channel, I'm opening my door to Oracle, I'm speaking from my deepest heart, I'm breathing from my deepest belly, and I'm sharing the truth as it comes through way. I'm sharing my truth, I'm sharing my way, I'm not sharing the truth and the way. So if this doesn't resonate with you, this isn't your thing, that's absolutely okay. I am not here to get you to agree with me. I am not here to convince you. I quit the convincing business a long time ago. I am here because if I do not express myself, I become emotionally constipated. So this is more of a selfish act than anything. However, as those of us who are deep in our service know, if we are not serving others, we are suffering. Can I get a raise of hands? How many of you out there are so deep in your gift that if you're not giving it to others, it hurts? So many people that I work with, their number one complaint is that they are not serving enough people, that they do not feel like they're reaching enough people, that they know in their deepest heart they're here with a message. You're here with a blueprint. So this Facebook Live, the Wild Woman Rhapsodies, are a way for me to complete my blueprint, here to complete my mission blueprint on the planet at this time as spirit moves through me. So this is completely of service in a selfish and loving way. It's being centered in ourself. It's the difference between being self-centered and being centered in ourself. It's about the same actions, but the intention coming forward is I'm so deeply centered in myself that I'm able to serve from a place of my cup running over. So this message comes to you today from a place of me being super full. I did my amazing morning sadhana, which is 2 miles walking barefoot with my white wolf. I've been in love with my partner all morning. I ate an amazing breakfast and an incredible call with a dear friend, client, sister who's serving people in Ohio right now. And I'm just on fire. So today comes to you from a deep place of, yes, my tree, devotion in motion. I love that. So, how to stop the evil of the world. Are you guys ready? Because I'm ready for this. I'm just ready to take it on down because I'm so done with feeling like there's a small group of elite people controlling the majority of the masses. I'm really done with that story. Who's done with that story? Who's ready to step into financial abundance? Who's ready to bring their voice forward without being afraid of being burned at the stake? Who's ready to bring forward their deep spiritual, esoteric, interdimensional, and this dimensional gifts without the fear that some group is going to break down their door? Can I get an amen? Right? Like really ready. So this is my call for the witches of the world to unite. And when I say witches, I mean earth people. I mean people who are deeply connected to the plants, connected to the lunar cycles, connected to the family, connected to your ancestor wisdom, connected to the animals, who have known that they've been able to communicate with other dimensional beings, who can communicate with the plants and animals, who know deeply that their deepest heart is their inner compass. That's what I mean when I say witch. I'm not looking at Wiccan or pagan or any lineage. I do not claim any lineage or tradition or religion. I've studied many of them. I've studied South American shamanism, Native American shamanism, I've studied Hinduism and Buddhism and yoga, and I've studied deep pagan lineages. And to be completely honest, they're all saying about the same thing, and they all have the same amount of flaws. And the main flaw that the majority of traditions and religions have is that they claim to be the one. They claim to be the one. They claim that without this, you can't do it. And that's just not true. That's just not true. The true witch, the true medicine woman, the true medicine man, the true medicine person is the one that knows you have all the medicine within you already. You have the blueprint in your DNA. You have all the answers within you. And the first way that we're going to stop the world of the evil is to understand that evil is just living backwards. Livevil. It's literally the reverse of living. So anything that's evil is the opposite of life. Anything that is destructive, be it in thought, in word, or in action. I'm going to say it again. Evil is the opposite of living. It is destructive in thought, word, or action. That's it. And the way that we stop evil is, first of all, by looking at ourselves. I'm jumping to point number 3 now, but it's really a personal, integral relationship with self. Where in my life am I living backwards? Where in my life am I proclaiming one thing but showing up as another? Where in my life am I trying to avoid something in myself? It's important as we walk out of the evil, walk out of living backwards within ourselves, that we're willing to look at all the parts of ourselves where we've been lying to ourselves. Number one way that evil shows up is self-lying. Where are you lying to yourself? Who are you spending time with that you actually don't want to be spending time with? Are you dating someone? Are you in a relationship with someone who doesn't honor you and you're lying to yourself saying that they're going to change? Are you in a relationship with your job that is actually 9-to-5 incarceration? If you're on this live video, it's probably not what's happening. But if you're watching this and you had to watch it outside of your 9-to-5 incarceration, it's just time that we stop lying to ourselves. Because it is the self-lying that allows us to listen to the lies of the government, of other systems, of religions, of the people around us. Because if we're lying to ourselves, we have a layer of cellophane on our sensitivity. This layer of cellophane on our sensitivity. When we go into a space and we haven't been lying for a while, and someone tells a lie, we can feel it. It's almost like an arrow in the space. If we're lying to ourselves, it's like we have a layer of cellophane on top of us, so someone else tells a lie in the space, and it's almost like it either can't hit us or we don't want it to hit us. So the first way to end evil is to understand that evil is A, only living backwards, and B, we're all doing it to some extent. And number 3, the conversation that I really wanted to dive in today, it takes a little turn into the dark. Right? So warning, if you are under the age of 18, this is rated R, or if anyone might be offended by words such as rape or pedophilia, this is where you should stop the video, because that's where I'm going to dive into the real evil, right? This is about how our money is being spent on the planet right now. The majority of our money, the majority of economic commerce on the planet right now is for human flesh, specifically for sex slaves. And the centers of this sex slavery that's happening in the world are the major urban centers, Washington, D.C. being one of them. And I'm here to declare that this case of Dr. Christine Ford and her bringing forward Kavanaugh is one small piece of a large pedophilia ring that's centered in our government. That's centered in very wealthy, mostly men, but women are involved as well, mostly men buying children around the world. And this piece of evil needs to be spoken forward. This is living backwards to the utmost degree. The majority of money that's being spent on the planet right now is for human flesh. And it's mostly for women and children. And I say this with deep sadness in my heart, and to bring it forward so that we can bring it into our consciousness and transmute this shit. And no longer allow this in our field. How do we not allow this in our field? We stop lying to ourselves, first of all. And second of all, we start looking around in our own communities. Where is sexual assault happening? Where are small examples of this already happening in our field? And we need to start having the conversations around consent, around rape, and around pedophilia. Our children are being sexualized at a very young age. Sex is being introduced as just a thing that we do as part of the free world. Sex is the most sacred act that you could ever do with your body. I'm going to say it again. Sex is the most sacred act you could ever do with your body. Sex is the high holy way to pray. And if you are utilizing sex to distract yourself, or you're utilizing sex just for enjoyment, or you're utilizing sex as something to gain or to get power over someone, you are contributing to the evil of sex magic on our planet. Sex is a way to pray with our bodies to the mystery. You connect with someone that you feel safe with, someone who loves and respects you. Whatever your relationship format, I'm not here to impress moral obligations upon anyone. Whatever your relationship format is yours to choose, but make sure you're safe, make sure you're consenting and they're consenting, and make sure it's held in a highly sacred way. And that's how you make sure that your sex isn't contributing to the evil on the planet. I was speaking to a woman the other day who was being very honest about her sex fantasies. And they involve rape-like scenarios. And I have to be honest. There are moments in my life where I've been looking to just get that climax. And if I think about a rape scenario in my head or something a little bit morbid, I get there fast. Because it's been imprinted in my mind that that's the way that I want to have sex. Through the porn industry, which is deeply connected to the pedophilia industry. If you're watching pornography, you're contributing to children being raped. I'm just going to say it. That's it. If you are contributing to the porn industry in any way with your mind, your money, or your eyeballs, you are contributing to the rape of women and children and others on this planet. Pornography was intentionally created in order to make you numb to what real sex is, and the only thing that you can do to get off at that point is extreme violence. And I admit it myself. I've watched porn, and there's been an implant of this hard, like, taking it, right? And the getting, and this feeling is evil. It's living backwards. That's not the intention of sex. The intention of sex is a co-creative act. It's literally to create life. If you do not want to co-create with the person that you are having sex with, I mean, procreate, that's a whole other conversation. But if you do not want more of that person on this planet, you should not be having sex with them. That's it. Sex is a highly sacred act, and the porn industry is contributing to the rape culture and the pedophilia in this lifetime. The way that we stop evil is we stop it in ourselves. We start having the conversations with our sisters and our brothers and others that porn is not something that we want in our psychic field anymore. It's not the way that we want to have sex anymore. We want to connect with each other. We want to live. We want to co-create with each other, and sex is an expression of that act. That deep connecting is an expression of that act. Right now on this planet, the number one economic commerce is for sex slavery. That's why I'm having this conversation, because sex slavery is evil. It's living backwards. It's putting people into a position where they cannot get themselves out of, whether it's psychological or physical torture and enslavement. And it's important that we have this conversation of how that affects us and how we get to treat this piece. I love this, my tree. Do not let them tell you prostitution is the oldest profession in the world. Mother is by far. Absolutely. Prostitution is not the oldest profession in the world. Let's be very clear. There was much happening before there was prostitution. There was a time before the wars. Do you remember? The time before the wars, the time before there was so much war on the planet, the time before we were at each other's throats, the time before evil was just something that was normalized. There was a time before the wars. There was a time before prostitution. There was a time before I was afraid for my body. There was a time when I could let my children run around and play freely. Do you remember that time? And part of my blueprint mission, part of the message here today in the completion of evil is all of us remembering the time before the wars. Do you remember the time before the wars, Kimberly? Do you remember the time before the wars? Our pristine origin as human beings living from our deepest heart. We are not inherently evil. That is a lie. We have not sinned. We are not standing away from God. The breath, our true goodness, is our connection to the divine. You are not separate from the divine. You are not evil. Your choice to live backwards, that's evil. Humans' choice to live backwards, that's evil. The idea that force is somehow power, that's evil. People exerting their force over another person is not power. Military is not power. That's force. That's evil. When you force yourself upon someone, that is evil. That is not power. How can we learn to bring the light to this bullshit? Well, I've spoken about it a little bit. And the first piece is looking at the parts of ourselves where we are self-lying. Any part of ourself that is still lying to ourselves, where we think that something is okay in our life, but we know it's actually not. It's actually not okay. I'll tell a personal story. I was living with someone, I moved in June, so it was for a year last year. I was living with someone who has deep issues around women, who his misogyny is so deep within himself, he doesn't even notice it. And it was painful for me to listen to him speak. And I kept my mouth shut because I was living with this older man. He was a teacher of mine. Nothing sexual or sensual was involved. We were actually really good friends. And me living with him, part of the exchange was me learning some of his ways from him as a medicine person. But his misogyny got so intense that I could no longer be in integrity just having my presence around him. Just me being around him reinforced that behavior, that way of thinking was somehow okay. So I'm calling you forward. Where in your life is either your attention, your presence or your imagination contributing to evil. And that's what we get to clean up first. You don't need to start an organization that stops pedophilia. You don't need to start an organization that starts sexual abuse. Those things could be helpful. But the biggest help that you can do is clean up the evil that's inside of yourself. Anything that's living backwards, anything that you are standing with or for that you actually don't stand with and for. You want to stop evil? Stop standing with things that are living backwards. You want to stop children being raped? Stop any part of your thinking that is any sort of violence as connection to sex. Every time we have sex and we imagine something violent happening, we are contributing to that bank account of violence and sex. You want to stop evil on this planet? Stop it in your mind, your body, and your heart, and your actions first. And that's how we do it. That's how we as the witches of the world unite. We stand in our power, we stand in our beauty, and we stand forward for the light. And we bring forward the shadows. We're not afraid of the shadows. Shadows is not where evil lives. I want to be super clear. Evil likes to come out bright and early, standing straight forward and brazen and saying, I'm living backwards. Look at me. There's an entire black internet, a dark internet, a rogue internet where people brag about their conquests in pedophilia, in rape, in murders. There's a whole other system that's happening right in front of our faces. House of Cards, which is one of the number one rated shows on Netflix, is showing us a truth about our governmental system, and everyone is seeing it as entertainment. Instead of us saying we really need to find a different way to do this government thing, people sit back and take it as entertainment. Where in us is the evil living is the first question to eliminating evil on the planet. Where in you are you living backwards? Where in you are you still lying to yourself? That is how we stop evil on this planet every day. Where in myself am I still lying to myself? How do I, as a witch, conjure forward the most magical happenings so that I can bring all my truth forward? All the truths, all the parts that I've deceived myself and others. That is how we take the cellophane off of our sensitivity so that we can hear, so that we can feel, so that we can see when someone else in the space is bullshitting. We can't feel the truth if we're not living in truth. We cannot speak the truth if we're not living in truth. I cannot proclaim this to you if I'm not doing the fucking work myself. That's how we eliminate evil first, is we clean up our own fucking porch step. And that's the invitation to you today, to be a light bearer, to really bring the light into your own life. Claim forward the places where you've been lying to yourself, where you've been telling yourself, oh, this person's going to change. Oh, it's okay if I do this. It's okay if I do this job. It's okay if I do this thing. Any part of you that's lying to yourself is contributing to the living backwards of your own life. Therefore, it is contributing to evil. It's pretty simple. Thank you for being here. It's so good to feel you. Please share this video if it's something that moves you. It's a conversation, this ideas of evil and good. It's a conversation that I want to have more of. It's a conversation I want to have with you. It's powerful as medicine women, medicine men, witches, healers, artists, people who are standing in their power, people who know that they have a mission blueprint. Who here knows that they have a mission blueprint? Can I get a raise of hands? A couple likes up in here? Yeah, thank you. You know that you have a mission blueprint. And if you have a mission blueprint and you're on the planet at this time, I can guarantee you it's to help stop evil. To stop the living backwards. To stop the idea that we as human beings need to suffer so that a group of people can behave in inappropriate ways. And the way that we stop it is first by cleaning up ourselves and then becoming so highly sensitive to the bullshit that we know how to call it in. We know how to call it in ourselves. We know how to call it in our partners. We know how to call it in our communities. Because the one way that evil is continuing is that no one is calling it in. And I don't mean calling it out like we have to bring it to justice. It's about calling it in, having a conversation. Hey, this part of you is living backwards. Let's talk about the root of that. Where in your mother or father did that come from? Where in your family lineage did that come from? How do we heal that root? Because we've all been refugees of some war in this lifetime. We are all refugees of the great wars. And I'm here to remind you that there was a time before the great wars. And we're remembering that time now in our deepest heart. And the way that you can fight evil the best is to release all self-lying and to come to a remembrance of the time before the wars. Help yourself remember every day. Get barefoot outside. Drink good water. Play with children. Be good to yourself. No more self-lying. No more self-defeating. Get into the sun. Remember who you are as a divine child of the light. a divine son, daughter, other of the divine creator. You are that. I am that. The time before the wars is when we lived in full remembrance of that knowing. And we celebrated it every day. We said, thank you. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be in this third dimension. Where I've come from and where I'm going is a mystery. But what I want for myself in this lifetime is the best, most beautiful. Heaven is what we experience on earth. Hell is what we experience on earth. And it is your choice to decide what you're creating today. I love you. Peace to you. Light to you. Love to you. Witches of the world, unite. Love.